Good afternoon. Welcome to one of the most important sessions at the World Economic Forum's annual meeting. It is the session on geopolitics. If you look at the geopolitical backdrop that this meeting is happening against, I think it's the most complicated in generations. But this panel is working hard every day to make it less complicated. And we know that when you're between orders, things are even more complex. We had one world order after the Cold War, lasted for almost 30 years. It was like this win-win world order. Then we are now in between. I think there is more national interests. If you want to get something done, there has to be overlap in national interest, and then you might see it happen. What this new world order will end up in, we don't know yet, but is definitely going to be more multipolar than the world order we had in the past. Will it be multipolarity with also some multilateralism? We'll hear with the panel. So I'm going to start with Sheikh Mohammed Al-Thani, Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Qatar. And congratulations on the hostage deal. And in Gaza, I think you have spent 24/7 the last year on that.
Thank you very much, Børge.
And will it last?
Well, let's be hopeful, and look, it's still a long way to go, and we are, with what have happened throughout the last 15 months and negotiating this very difficult conflict. It showed us that everything can be resolved through talks and through engagement and through negotiations. And you know, we started this week with good news. We have seen the ceasefire in place. We have seen the humanitarian aid coming in. We have seen hostages going back. And we hope that this will be just, you know, a first step towards stability. Now, will it last or not? I think this question should be posed to the parties of the conflict, and they need to adhere to what they agreed upon in the agreement. And basically, us as guarantor and as mediators in this agreement, we have to ensure that every step is implemented as it's agreed. But it all depends how, you know, if they are embarking in this in good faith, this will last, and hopefully will lead to phase 2, will lead to a permanent ceasefire, and hopefully we will have the time to address the real issue and to put an end for this conflict that's been there for decades.
Do you think, and do you see a role now in the reconstruction of Gaza for the PA in Ramallah taking on a role?
Look, of course, you know, there are a lot of talks and a lot of conversations about the day after in Gaza and the reconstruction and what will happen next. I believe, you know, this question primarily needs to be answered by the Palestinian people and what they will agree on. I don't see that there is any country in position to dictate anything on them, on the way that they will be governed. We hope to see the PA back in Gaza. We hope to see them, to see a government that will really address the issues of the people over there. And there are a lot, and there is a long way to go with Gaza and the destruction. Look, what we have seen in the images in the press and the news for the last 15 months didn't make justice for the real situation over there. And now we will start to see what's real catastrophe it left behind it.
A lot of changes in a very short time in the Middle East. So there is a new president in Lebanon, there's a new prime minister. Assad is gone, he's now in Moscow. The new foreign minister of Syria is on his way here to Davos. He couldn't make this panel, but he's going to participate in other panels. And also we see that the situation in Iran is also changing. So, and then we have a new president in the US with his inaugural address yesterday, and also with his clear views on the region. So where do you see the Middle East in a year, and also then with this new administration in the US?
Well, it's, when I started with, we are hopeful about this deal in Gaza that will lead to a ceasefire. There are a lot of, good news that happened despite all the crises that we've been through in the last year. Lebanon have a president. Syria, we have seen an end of a brutal regime that killed and displaced his people for the last 13 years. We have seen a ceasefire in Gaza that we hope that it will last and will become a permanent ceasefire, and hopefully to lead to a solution to the conflict. There are a lot of good things happening that we need to build upon. Now, of course, with the new president in the United States, he's not stranger to the Middle East. He's been a president from 2016 to 21. We believe there are a lot of good opportunities that we can work together and collaborate with him in order to exploit and to make the Middle East a stable region. We have seen some movements, and also we have seen them in motion, actually, when during the negotiations in the last 2 days, Steve Witkoff, the presidential envoy for the Middle East, made a big difference. And I've seen a real partner in him that we got it together to cross the finish line.
He even put Netanyahu under pressure, didn't he?
Well, it's the job of the mediator to put every party under pressure to end this conflict. And we have seen that this is bringing results and bringing a real outcome. Now, when it comes to what we are seeing from President Trump, the whole notion of making America great again is something very important, and we believe that also we want to see the Middle East great again. We want to see a leadership that's happening in the Middle East taking over and addressing its own conflicts and hopefully coming up with solutions. We have seen a greater collaboration throughout the last year between all other Middle Eastern partners in order to find solutions, whether when it comes to the issue in Gaza or the issue in Syria. And we hope to see Europe great again, and the whole world is greater again.
Thank you for mentioning that. I was just waiting for that. Inshallah. Making Europe great again. I think we're on it. You heard President von der Leyen earlier today. You just came from Damascus, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to use that also, of course, as a segue to Prince Faisal, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. But what are you more convinced about their commitment to be inclusive and on the path of something that can be good after your visit?
Well, as I mentioned, first to see an end of a brutal regime that killed and committed war crimes against his own people is a good news. Yet it's a transition period and still a long way to go towards stability. But we have hope. We have faith in the Syrian people. Syrian people are very productive, very active, very innovative. We have seen them in the diaspora. We have seen them as refugees, started as refugees, and they became a vital elements in different economies. They are engineers, doctors, businessmen, and very successful ones. And we see that this is if things will come together without any spoilers, and the new administration in Syria will also engage with everyone inclusively. And what we have heard actually from Damascus is very promising. And we are hope that will take them from all the pains of the civil war in the last 13 years to a new chapter for Syria, where Syria is a stable country, very productive, and also a core of stability in the entire region.
Prince Faisal, I think the new Syrian leader, his first international visit was to Riyadh, meeting with His Royal Highness the Crown Prince, with yourself?
You mean Al-Sheba, the foreign minister?
Yeah, foreign minister was it? Yeah, sorry. Yeah. And how did that go? And what is your take, if I repeat the same question as I had to Sheikh Mohammed? Are you, of course, we are all in the real political world here, but are you cautiously optimistic, or is that going too far?
No, I would certainly say I'm cautiously optimistic. I may even lean further because of some of the elements that Sheikh Mohammed mentioned. You have, first of all, an administration that is saying the right things in private and in public, doing a lot of the right things. But also you have a Syrian people that is incredibly capable and is incredibly resourceful, that allows an opportunity to really take Syria in a very positive direction. I think we have to engage. We have to show some patience with the administration in Damascus. I think we all have to put out a helping hand, because the reality is that they have inherited a broken country with no real institutions, and they're having to build all of that from scratch. And that's not an easy thing, especially since probably they were not expecting to be where they are now. So it's up to us, I feel, in the region first, but certainly the international community as a whole, to engage, to come and build on this positive development and help Syria and the Syrian people see a much better future. And I think with the attitude that we've seen from the new administration, both during the visit, the bilateral visit that the minister had, but also in the conference that we hosted with a number of Arab countries and the Friends of Syria and the international community, we saw a very, very keen desire by the administration in Damascus to engage with the partners in the region, with the international community, also to engage in a way that is very responsive. So, they are very open to hearing comments and, working with the international community to move in the right direction. And here, as I said, we need to engage, we need to show some patience, and we need to be helpful. One way we can be helpful, of course, is the issue of sanctions, because there is a huge burden of sanctions that was imposed on Syria because of the actions of the previous regime. I think we've heard already some waivers from the US, from Europe. Certainly I feel more needs to be done, because as I mentioned, you have a country that is really broken and that needs to be lifted up. And there are going to be difficulties, and the more we engage early and the more we are helpful early, the more I think this transition can be effective and can be reasonably inclusive.
How do you look at the situation in Lebanon? We know that in the past, Saudi Arabia was a big investor in Lebanon, and I think Saudi Arabia then pulled out because it was disappointed. How do you read the new situation in Beirut? Is that with more optimism too? Is the kingdom already ready to play a more of a role, or is that premature?
Certainly we see the election of a president after a very lengthy vacuum as extremely positive. We also see the possible forming of a government. We hope the Lebanese will decide on that in the not too distant future as additionally positive. We will need to see real action. We will need to see real reform. We will need to see a commitment to a Lebanon that is looking to the future, not to the past, in order for us to raise our engagement. I plan to be visiting Lebanon this week, and I think based on what I hear there and what we see, I think that will inform the kingdom's approach. But I have to say, what I've seen so far and the conversations that we've been hearing happening in Lebanon all allow me to be very much optimistic. What I hope, and we've always said, it's really up to the Lebanese to decide and to make the choices to go and to take Lebanon in a different direction. That's kind of what we're hearing, and I hope that that translates into something tangible and ongoing.
Looking at the biggest risk in the region that also have geopolitical dimensions, because, you know, even in a very difficult geopolitical situation, we still have pretty good global growth expected this year and next year. It's not like it used to be the trend growth close to 4%, but we are more than 3%. And the outlook we have for the GCC countries is pretty optimistic. What can really change this is a full-fledged war between Israel and Iran. And we were probably closer to that in the fall. But you also have a new administration now in the US. Is that the thing, one of the things that keep you most up at night? I know you have good nerves, so you probably sleep well, but how do you see that unfold? What are the risk factors?
I mean, we are certainly in a region that is abundant with risk factors, but we are also in a region that has huge potential. And I would say that even with a very difficult year behind us, we have shown that we can be resilient as a region, and we can actually look to the future. Whether it's the kingdom, the GCC countries, and their, you know, ability to stay on track with their economic agendas, but also, as we see now, Syria, as we see now, Lebanon, as we see now, possibly in Gaza, there is positivity there. Are there risks? Certainly. Obviously, a war between Iran and Israel, any war in our region, is something that we should try to avoid as much as possible. I don't see the incoming US administration as contributory to the risk of war. On the contrary, I think President Trump has been quite clear that he does not favor conflict. I hope that the approach will be met also on the Iranian side by addressing the issue of the nuclear program, by being willing to engage with the incoming administration in a way that can help us stay on track with this positive momentum. You know, we have been, between the kingdom and Iran, for instance, able to really move forward in our relationship. And I think certainly on the kingdom side, we are committed to continuing that. And the opportunity to turn a page exists in the whole region, and just to focus on economic growth, on prosperity, on cooperation, all of that can be a reality. So I choose to be optimistic.
How do you think they feel in Tehran, though, after what unfolded in Gaza, Lebanon, and Syria?
I don't know. I hope they are, at least as we are, committed to a future that is focused on cooperation. And here, you know, what happened in Gaza, you know, the ceasefire, I think they have to be positive on that, because it means that there's an end to the killing and the suffering of the civilians in Gaza. You know, the broader region, the issue is really, can we build a region based on cooperation, based on integration? I think we can. I hope the Iranians think so as well. And, you know, we're ready to do that.
And we will hear more about that too, because we do have Vice President Javad Zarif with us in Davos. There will be a one-on-one with him later on. We also know that Africa is playing more and more important role. And we do have Yusuf Tuggar, the Foreign Minister of Nigeria, with us also this year. Thank you for coming back. You were on the panel last year too. And today, it's easy to look at Africa either like glass half empty or half full. So there are regions and countries where you see investments and prosperity. Then you see also other areas that there is war and despair, and also increasingly also proxy wars. So seen from Nigeria, that together with South Africa are kind of the superpowers of the continent, where do you see the path moving forward? How to, again, get most of Africa on a track for growth and inclusion based on the African Free Trade, Continental Free Trade Agreement, and how to solve all this unfolding wars in Sudan, Somalia. I can make the list even longer. And also, of course, in the Sahel region that is much closer to you and where you're very much affected.
Well, thank you very much. Good to be back. I think the path forward has clearly been shown by what transpired in the ceasefire agreement, the negotiations with between Israel and Hamas, and the guarantors, Qatar, Egypt, the US. I remember last year on this stage, I talked about the need for more diplomacy, for diplomacy to be allowed space, for interlocutors to be allowed to engage. I gave an example of how during the Cold War we had these neutral countries that provided the grounds for such engagement between actors. So you can see what can be achieved. In the same vein, this can be applied to Africa, where we have these conflicts that you described. I think you left out Libya, which is very key. And for us, I think it's important also to, for the world to be reminded that it's important that we manage liminal moments responsibly and talk to each other, because part of what we're facing today is the fallout of, I would say, the mismanagement of the liminal moment that came at the end of the Cold War, where certain theories that were incubated, not so well, in think tanks were applied to real-life situations. Case in point, democratic peace thesis. Clearly, it's been shown to have failed. It was a misreading of Immanuel Kant, because it was a democratic peace thesis trying to make others in your own image that brought about Iraq, that brought about Libya, that we in my region, in West Africa, having to contend with. So we have a situation now where we have securitization in the Sahel, in an area where life depends on movement. We have seasonal migration. In an effort to restrict migration northwards, seasonal migration was stifled. So it became a life and death situation. And then there are certain actors there that are irredentists. They were empowered. And such irredentist groups clearly come into conflict with people that have been trained all their adult lives to protect the integrity of their countries, soldiers. So this is part of the reason why we're having to contend with unconstitutional changes of government. So you can see how, and then of course the weapons pouring in from Libya, fighters, then we've got Sudan to contend with, and so it goes. So there's a need, the same way that regional and major powers got together to bring about, at least, even if it's temporary, some sort of suspension of hostilities in Gaza. I think that provides some kind of model. It provides hope. We need to fix Libya so that we fix the fastest growing part of the world. We're going to contribute more in terms of population than any other region in the world. So these are some of the things that we need to. And then, of course, we will always go back to the global financial architecture. There was a reason why G20 all of a sudden became very powerful. It followed the 2008 global financial meltdown, and which necessitated the need to reach out more to developing countries. G7 couldn't do it alone, and then all of a sudden, so we need to collaborate more between the global north and global south, make it more inclusive, make it more democratic, and then you also talk about the political structuring as well, which I've talked about here, which is the reform of the UN Security Council.
Thank you very much. Elina Valtonen, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Finland. The war in Ukraine is coming very shortly to 3 years. It is the war in Europe where most people have lost their lives since the Second World War. President Zelensky just spoke here in Davos, and Do you think there will be a peace agreement this year?
I'm pretty sure there will be a peace agreement this year. I was in Kiev just a week before last, and I must say that nobody wants and deserves peace more than Ukraine, and of course the Ukrainian children. I visited the children's hospital. The issue has been so far in the past 3 years, but I would say in the past more than 10 years, it's been Russia who has not wanted to have peace, because otherwise clearly they would not have invaded a neighboring country, not have blatantly violated international law, the UN Charter. Now it's definitely time for peace in Europe, and we just so hope that Russia goes back to adhering to the treaties it has itself been signing and, of course, designing in the past. And I do hope that in so many ways, well, I think also the ceasefire in Gaza gives a lot of hope in this regard, because at the end of the day, what we need is stability, and the reason we need also international law is that people have something to cling to, something to build their future onwards on, and therefore it's extremely important that we keep on respecting multilateralism.
What is at stake? President Zelensky just said that when Putin started the invasion, he had 200 soldiers involved. Now there are 600 Russian and other soldiers in the occupied territories. What is at stake? What is also at stake for your country and for Europe? Are you sure that the Ukrainians will be able to hold up in this situation, and also with the new geopolitical realities that we are faced with now?
I think the Ukrainians have done a tremendous job. Of course, nobody wanted to have 3 years of war, but the reason there has been a war in the first place is because of Putin's Russia, and Ukrainians have been able to defend themselves, yes, with the help of many other countries as well who have the right to do so according to the UN Charter. So Putin probably thought that they would take Kiev in a couple of days, and that didn't work out. But I must say, since also my dear Nigerian colleague, and I think this is like a repeat from last year, but what comes to neutrality, I mean, if we look at different conflicts around the world, and especially the one in the war that Russia is waging against Ukraine, I mean, Ukraine was neutral before this, right? And also during the Cold War, there were so many neutral countries, or there were so many countries behind the Iron Curtain in Europe where the people really wanted to be someplace else. They wanted to have freedom. They exactly want to have democracy, and certainly be part of the prospering world. Like we see now, fantastic results, especially in the past 10, 15 years across the globe. And they are fully agree that we need more cooperation, also more investment, especially more trade across, to Africa as well, and between the global north and south anyway. But the point is that we let people to choose. And certainly neutrality, if you're a neighbor of Russia, often seems to lead to the fact that you are taking away the right to choose. And there, I think we have a global obligation to defend people, the civilians also in this matter. And that's what the international law and the treaties are for.
Thank you. We have 3.5 minutes left. That is for the Spanish Foreign Minister, José Manuel Bueno. I know you also just returned from Lebanon and Syria. So what will you say to Dr. Faisal that is heading to Lebanon, and what was your take on Syria? Are you more optimistic after you visited Syria, and what is your read on the situation in Lebanon?
I think we have a real chance for peace, for stability, and in the future for prosperity for the people of Lebanon and Syria. In both places, I think we must back peace and stability. We are doing it very heavily. Spain in UNIFIL, we have the lead of the UNIFIL troops with our Spanish general. We are helping the Lebanese armed forces to strengthen, to move to the south, to guarantee the sovereignty of Lebanon, also the security of the Israeli people that live in the north, and the same thing with Syria. I think if we help them, we have a real chance to give stability and to give a future to a country that 90% of the people live under the threshold of poverty. The second thing, in both places we have a very complex society. And from where I talk with the new president of Lebanon, the new prime minister, also with the new leadership in Syria, all of them are ready to have an inclusive future for everyone in the Lebanese society and in the Syrian society. And this is a real wealth in the Middle East that shows that there is a future of coexistence. And at the same time, the needs are huge in both countries for the governments. I mean, the challenges they are facing are massive. And in order to do that, we have to help them. And that's why we have committed our humanitarian aid, both to Lebanon and to Syria. I've been very pleased that right after me, the European Commissioner, backed by Ursula von der Leyen, did the same thing, both in Lebanon and in Syria, because if the governments don't show the people the benefits of this new stage, there is no way back. And of course, I appeal to Israel to withdraw from both Syria and Lebanon. That will give back the sovereignty, and that will guarantee stability and therefore peace for everyone. Certainly, Spain will be helping in all that, and our voice in Brussels will push European Union to go in that sense.
No, thank you very much. I wish we had at least half an hour more, but you should always end, I'm told, when people want the panel to continue. That's not always the case, but for me, at least, that's my feeling after this panel. Big thank you to all of you. And for those that are very interested to hear more, there's one-on-one with Sheikh Mohammed a little bit later. And now some of us will also go to another meeting about the Middle East.